Here's one that was listed in Japan by Central Music LLC. It caught my attention because right in the title, junk. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. First thing that catches my attention, somebody routed it for humbuckers. It looks pretty good with those black pickup surrounds. Matches very well with that sunburst finish. And on that brown leather couch, yeah, looking pretty attractive. Not as much so on the white background. That just goes to show you how you take the photos matters a lot. But for something to be listed as junk, there's got to be something else wrong with it, right? Headstock repair? Well, it's not looking so good so far because you don't have the original Gibson truss rod cover, but you've got the original frets. Looks like the nut might have been swapped out. But flipping over to the back, it's a neck-through guitar. Honestly, doesn't look all that beat up. It's got some nicks and dings, maybe some additional holes by the pickups. But where is it? It's got to have it. Sure enough, it has been repaired, but it's got some decent overspray to it. All things considered, I was expecting something much, much worse. But as far as the enlarging of our Firebird pickups into the humbuckers, it was rather crude, but hey, it got the job done. Looks like we got a DiMarzio in it, as well as some sort of a Gibson USA. That could be fun for someone, but to import that back to the United States, sight unseen, for roughly $1,900, I would probably suggest passing on that because there's too many unknowns. But if you're in Japan, you can talk to them and you don't have to pay international shipping. Yeah, that could be a lot of fun. But before we continue on to all the other great models, we need to hear a word from our sponsor tonight, Sweetwater. Sweetwater is a great place to buy all your new gear, and that's from electric guitars to pianos, orchestral instruments. My favorite thing is the fact that you can pick out the instrument that you want, from your weight down to the serial number to the kind of top. When I'm looking for something special, I always go to Sweetwater. And they're going to hook you up with a sales engineer that's going to not only help you with this sale, but many of other sales down the road as well. I think I've been with mine for nearly 15 years now. So thank you, Sweetwater, for being a long-term sponsor of my show. Now let's get back to these guitars. But next up in fun Japan land, check out this 76 Les Paul Deluxe, listed as modified, for about $3,500 shipped to you. If you're in the States, that is. Face of the headstock doesn't look too bad. You've got the large washer-style Clusons. You've got your big old Gibson Blocky logo. What's the rest look like? Wow, that's quite fascinating, right? Almost unbelievable for a 1976 Gibson Les Paul Deluxe. The reason being, this has been retopped. Now, whether it's a veneer top or they actually took the maple top off and put a new one on, I don't know. The shop says it moves, so at the very least, it's a real veneer top. But when they did that, they also upgraded it to humbucker pickups. Maybe even an ABR1 bridge. It just kind of depends when this particular Deluxe came out. I mean, by 76, most of them would have been Nashvilles. And I can't even see if it actually has the Nashville studs. But if you're going to convert it to a maple top, you might as well convert it into the ABR1 at that time. But does anybody else think this looks off? We take for granted every day the fine lines and contouring of a Les Paul. But your eyes will immediately know when something is not right. And I think it's this area right here. They didn't quite get enough of a dish carve. And like maybe they came in a little bit too far here, judging by our lights. Because it just looks oddly fatter in that area than usual. Like this part of the guitar is like protruding. And maybe it's just the photos. Maybe this thing is awesome in person. For that price, it's a bit of a gamble to, again, sight unseen, import it, have duties and taxes, and not be 100% sure about it. It definitely seems like it's been completely refinished. They did a cherry back, and this is the version with the pancake body. Maybe a little bit of separation going on there. Maybe just some finish ugliness. But the top they put on it, absolutely gorgeous. It appears to have some finish checking. Or, again, here's the hard part. You don't know if that's finish checking or paint runs. That's something you would have to contact the shop about. You also don't know if this is nitro. It could be a poly finish, which would significantly impact the way this guitar feels. And hey, there's our confirmation. It is a true ABR1. From this photo angle, it looks like it's leaning forward. So that could be a potential issue for you in the future. And wow, that bridge is like really hoisted up there. But it was definitely refretted at that time. But the hardware looks pretty good, all things considered. Here's one I was kind of tempted to pick up as a potential stage 3 and or stage 4. It's $3,000. It's from 1997. I would totally believe you if you said this was from 1977. because holy cow, look at how ambered over that is. That must reek of smoke. It's got all the finish wear, but yet the gold is still in relatively good condition, so it matches the amberedness of the binding. The neck has definitely got some finish wear, but as you go up to the face of the headstock, here's the real selling point to me on this one. That's a really cool headstock. And normally, 90s Les Paul Customs, they're starting to get to that vintage point to some people, and then others are like, no, they're still pushing it a bit. Because honestly, a 90s Les Paul Customs really not that different from modern day production. Like, it depends on the year. 97, yeah, they've pretty well transformed into what we still have today. Some of the earlier ones still have some 80s features left over. This has a really cool vibe to it. Still has a serial number. All you really need to do, change out the knobs to some 70s aged ones. And that's not because these have been replaced, that's just because in this era, the plastics don't age. Let's just say, if that was free shipping, I probably just would have bought it myself to review and document. But now check this out with me. It's listed as a 7071 3 pickup Cherry Sunburst Custom. It's located over in Germany. I just had to click on it because it's kind of ugly but beautiful at the same time. Because look at all the uneven fading. So you got all the cherry underneath where a pickguard was at some point. Looks like somebody had a B5 Bigsby drilled onto the top, so it retained its cherryness there. But then it's just faded out everywhere else. Your gold's really worn in. But I did not notice this at first glance. This is one of those multi-piece tops. So it looks like 1 right here, 2, 3, maybe 4, could potentially be 5. But it's at bare minimum a 5-piece top. That's not the most I've ever seen. Sometimes you can find them to be 7, but I think they chose those woods because they were just so nice and flamey. Not traditional by any sense, but I like it. But looks like besides the Bigsby modifications, somebody probably routed out that middle humbucker. It's using metric pickup rings, that's why it looks so ugly and wide. And we've had multiple mini toggles on this thing, replaced knobs. Definitely been refretted with them super extra jumbos. Surprisingly, still original style ABR1. It looks like maybe 3 original pots. Cool brass backplate covers. Definitely constructed in the pancake body era. It's got a nice big honkin' volute with a mahogany neck. And then somehow it still has the original waffle backs. That's impressive. That's usually the first thing to go. But I really like the headstock on this because it's got the brass nut and truss rod cover. It reminds me of a Super Custom. As far as our pickup situation, looks like the original patent number T-top in the neck. However, you have some sort of a cheaper looking pickup. That looks similar to what you'd find on some of the Japanese imports, but maybe someone in the comments will know more. And it looks like it comes with some additional stuff if you want to put it back on. Now, as far as it being a 7071, probably more of a 7374 based on what I've seen. However, the best way to date this era is by pot codes, and the ones we need are not visible in this photo. Although it looks like you might be able to tell right there. And along similar lines, look at this 75 Deluxe. It's about $5,000. It was listed by Garrett Park Guitars. It's a 3-piece top, but it's beautiful. You don't find flamey deluxe like this. Not very often, and somebody took that as a sign to go play it out heavily. So if you don't mind a whole bunch of nicks, dings, and scratches, I mean, it looks like you could still clean it up a little bit, but this thing has a whole lot of character and actually appears to be mainly original, just off of a quick first glance. Nobody even reamed the headstock for other tuners. That is, again, it's always the first thing to go, the old Kluson tuners. They just don't stand the test of time, unfortunately. This one's still got the mahogany neck, 3 pieces. And relatively speaking, the finish actually matches pretty well. And I'd say the back is in better condition than the front. Oh, nice. And it comes with a purple case. That's something someone needs to buy. But apparently it's a consignment. They say they're open to reasonable offers, even though the listing doesn't say it, so you could always message them. There's no doubt in my mind something like that could sell for $4,000 to the right guy. Even as a dealer, I think I'd probably pay $32,000 for it, because I think it'd just be fun to document. Because on special guitars like this, I can look past cosmetic blemishes if everything else is there. And to end our episode tonight, a tribute to John Sykes, who has passed away at age 65. You might have known him through his work with Thin Lizzy or Whitesnake, or maybe just really loved the look of his black Les Paul Custom. Rest in peace.